Hi everyone, this is Carnivore Ron. I'm bringing to you a video that I put together, and this is a tack on in the front that I put on. It's with Annelise Barron. She is a bioengineer, has very excellent credentials, and so I wanted to present this to you. I need to go back and kind of edit the audio a bit because of volume differences. But anyway, I wanted to present this to you, and there's a lot of good information, especially about Alzheimer's, but also many other diseases. Find out a lot of them relate to oral health. So anyway, it's only about 15 minutes long. The original interview, which I encourage you to go watch, is about an hour and a half. There's so much more information that she has conveyed, and it's well worth your time for an hour and a half to learn this information that she has. It's just incredible. I can't endorse this interview, watching this interview enough. So here is an interview with Dave Mack on No Carb Life channel from Annelise Barron. Thank you for watching.
I was telling him, in my view, we should turn the whole Midwest of the United States back to grazing cattle. Get rid of all. I was saying to Carrie, I'm like, okay, so what are we growing? Like millions of acres of corn and soy. And a lot of that they feed to livestock, but they use it to make processed foods mostly, right? Or, why? Why do we need all that corn and soy? Because we really shouldn't be feeding it to cattle even. They should be eating grass.
That's right. And the environment would be so much better for it.
Oh, can you imagine just how beautiful the United States could be again if we just, let it go back to grasslands? And we have the best grasslands all across the United States and Canada. And just graze lots and lots of beef cattle, and then make sure everybody has all the beef they need.
Yeah.
And then they can get better.
And the thing is, they can graze where crops can't grow too, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Listen to what else she has to say. I find this fascinating.
It has been observed, and there are published papers saying where they had seen that if a person had brain cancer, they would not get Alzheimer's. They were like mutually exclusive diseases. And because you would either get brain cancer or Alzheimer's, but you would never get both, right? Like if you got Alzheimer's, you never got brain cancer. If you got brain cancer, you never got Alzheimer's. So people had figured that out, like epidemiologically, just looking at the incidence of the diseases. And so it actually had been proposed and hypothesized that these had to be caused by something related, had to have a related cause, because otherwise this connection didn't make sense, right? So I want to say to the people watching this interview, if someone in your family, anybody that's related to you, has had brain cancer, glioblastoma, okay? You need to go carnivore and stay carnivore, because the best thing you can do is just turn that bacteria off. And the way you do that is by not feeding Candida, because Candida lets it thrive.
Okay, so what she's saying here is that you should not be eating carbs and sugars because the bacteria feeds off of those. Hang on, there's more.
Basically, what excites me, and I think I said this before, we could spend forever just studying in detail the pathology of these diseases. What happens to the Alzheimer's brain and the Parkinson's brain as it degrades and stops working? What happens in that glioblastoma tumor? We could genotype each individual cell in the cancer, but why? Why should we study any of that pathology when we know now how to prevent it? Which is just cut the carbs out of your diet. Just cut them out and do it young enough, right?
Cut the carbs out. This is something I wish I had known years ago. If we knew this back in the 50s and 60s, can you imagine how many people's lives would have been saved? How many diseases would have been stopped? Hold on, there's more.
And you always have to kind of tell people, and I was telling the ladies at the Siskiyou Cattlewoman get-together, I was saying, look, this has to be experienced to really be believed. But what I want to tell you is not only will every uncomfortable disease or condition you have, whatever it is, it will get better. But you'll find that your mood gets better, right? And so this is the other thing. Like, we all have seen how, the keto diet has been linked with putting mental illness into remission, right? So this was published in the 2 well-known books, right? Is it called Brain Energy by Chris Palmer? I think so.
Yeah, and
then
Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Is that it?
Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind by Georgia Ede. So 2 independent books by 2 great Harvard scientists, both psychiatrists, saying, hey, I can put mental illness, emotional problems into remission and make people happy if they just cut out the carbs of their diet. Okay, a lot of people don't know that yet. But then the one thing you and I are probably aware of, just having had this discussion, like probably those so-called mental illnesses, right? They're also caused by this cascade that goes fungus plus bacteria enables virus harms nerves and brain tissue and gut. It's in the gut too.
Every uncomfortable disease you have will get better. And it has to be experienced to be believed. Interesting, isn't it?
And yeah, just take the carbs away and things start getting better. Your body goes, oh, hang on, I can work properly now.
Yeah, and then, your mood gets better.
And your mood gets better. I've experienced that. Things don't stress me out like they used to. Anyway, let's hear what else she has to say. There's a lot of fascinating stuff in this interview.
Carnivore heals the immune system. It heals your immune system.
Okay, here she talks about Alzheimer's disease and future research.
Discussion of this mechanism of disease for Alzheimer's in particular. And then I'm going to present it at the Karolinska, and I'm going to try to convince the Karolinska, which is like the most prestigious research hospital in Sweden, to do a clinical trial and, try and get Alzheimer's patients and sample Candida, Porphyromonas gingivalis, and herpes viruses and correlate that with the progress of disease. Because really the most exciting thing about this is there's multiple ways to stop that disease process, right? Best way is a dietary change, carnivore plus exercise, and just walking is great. Like 30 minutes a day of walking is going to be great.
Okay, I'm going to repeat this section because I think it's important, because she said here, carnivore diet and walking are the best ways to stop Alzheimer's disease.
There's multiple ways to stop that disease process, right? Best way is a dietary change, carnivore plus exercise, and just walking is great. Like 30 minutes a day of walking is going to be great because that'll just burn sugar that's in your bloodstream. So we want to keep the sugar low. All right, that's the best way. But if you have a person that's not willing to cut all the carbs out of their diet, it's possible to take a test for that Porphyromonas gingivalis, PNG bacteria, and you can take antibiotics and kill it for like 10 days of antibiotics, you can kill that bacteria. And you take metronidazole and amoxicillin together. So metronidazole kills anaerobic bacteria, and amoxicillin keeps the other ones from overgrowing while you kill the anaerobes. So that's another intervention. And that, those are already long FDA approved generic antibiotics. So that would maybe cost $15 to take those antibiotics, right? So that's another way to halt the disease process. But there's yet another way. So there are antivirals. So we could test for what herpes viruses a person carries, whether it's cytomegalovirus or Epstein-Barr or HSV1, and you can, there are antivirals that are FDA approved and common and cheap. And so this is a very meaningful discovery because there's lots of ways to then prevent Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or glioblastoma, which is, at any one of those stages. But again, I feel like diet's the best.
Diet's the best.
But it's so nice to hear that potentially there is hope to just stop these awful diseases. And it doesn't it doesn't have to involve big pharma at all.
No, it doesn't, because big pharma hates generic drugs, right? They fought tooth and nail to prevent us from treating COVID with generic drugs, right? So that they would get to release their vaccines, et cetera. But you don't need a vaccine. You don't need any fancy new drug. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You just need to do these tests, like the test for P&G. That's a $200 test you can order. It's not hard. It's not expensive. There is a vaccine that's BCG vaccine, which is a 120-year-old vaccine.
They still give that to kids in Japan.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Japanese are so healthy, because the BCG vaccine is different than other vaccines because it's a live attenuated vaccine, and it was developed back in the early 1900s, and they passaged it through 14 different kinds of animals, and every time you go through a different animal, it gets weaker. So this attenuated strain of mycobacteria that's in the BCG vaccine, it actually creates a chronic infection that's super mild and doesn't cause any negative effects in a normal, healthy person, but it just strengthens your immune system just enough that it can prevent Alzheimer's pretty effectively, like a 58% reduction in Alzheimer's. You didn't know that? Yeah, that's like new science from the last 3-4 years.
New science. That's what this is all about. Yes. You people out there want to say follow the science. Well, here it is.
Up. So it's actually, it's that remarkable thing, a vaccine that doesn't hurt people and doesn't have negative side effects. And it's because of the way it was developed back in the old days, where they very carefully attenuated it and tested it in a lot of animals before they tested it in people. And so the way it was pitched to RFK Jr. was like, hey, so everyone's going around saying you're an anti-vaxxer, right, RFK? Well, here's a vaccine that prevents Alzheimer's and Parkinson's because it strengthens the immune system. So why don't you prove to them you're not?
Well, how's that? Now we incorporated the carnivore diet with the Maha movement. Anyway, there's a lot more information here to go, but I'm almost done here.
So that'll go along. So, the beautiful thing is that the carnivore diet stacks with all this stuff. You can do carnivore, you can test for those pathogens, you can treat them if you have them, and you can take BCG, and those are all separate things, and they're going to be synergistic. And at least all of us who watch this channel, we get to stay sharp into our old age.
Okay, the total interview was an hour and a half, so I just gave you some quick clips of that for the last 15 minutes. I encourage you to go watch the entire interview. It's just absolutely fascinating. And it's filled with so much information at so many different levels. It's an hour and a half of your life that's well worth taking the time to listen. So I'll have links in the description, and there'll also be a link here at the tail end of the video. Listen, you guys just have a great day, and I hope this is helpful to you. It's just a fantastic interview. I'll talk to you later. This is Carnivore Ron, and I'm signing out.